Hello friends, welcome. Welcome to another lecture of this special series of SBI Clerk Mains. Now, before we start today, let me wish you and your family a very happy and healthy Dashera and Vijay Dashami. Today's topic is reading comprehension. A lot of you have been asking about this particular lecture, that how to handle RCs. But before we start handling RCs, we'll have to know that what are the issues that we are facing in RCs. So I'll also list them as we move ahead. But before I even do that, let me tell you one of the things that I come to hear from you guys is, sir, RC is something that I am not good at. RC is something, can we leave it? Right? Will we clear if we do not do reading comprehension? Now, all of these with the assumption in mind, in the minds of the people who say this, is that they are not good at RC. To them, I would want to tell only one thing. And it is so surprising that, today we are standing at a juncture where these festivals are there. And with each one of these festivals, we have so many stories, right? And we are a land of stories. So we cannot be bad at understanding stories. If we have been listening to stories from our childhood, if we have been understanding stories from our childhood, how come we are bad at understanding RCs? It's just not possible. Because reading comprehension, my dear friend, is nothing but stories. It's just that we do not look at it that way. We look at it as something which is a gateway towards our exam scores. Which is yes, but ultimately those three paragraphs are nothing but relating a story to us. So the moment you switch on your story wala switch, you would see that your understanding, your capability in RCs has gone up notches higher, right? So with that, let's start off with today's agenda. I told you that we'll discuss about the issues that we face. Normally the issues that we face is that we understand the passage, we can't do the question. We understand the passage, but understanding the passage needs 2 or 3 reading and it takes a lot of time. So RC is a time consuming. So second issue is RC is a time consuming process. First issue was we are not able to understand the questions and answer. The third issue is that we are not able to do the inferential questions. Okay, right. So all of these issues together, and in some cases the questions are difficult, RCs are easy. In some cases RCs are difficult, questions are easy. So all of these together, these issues together make RC a pain point for a lot of you. But as I told you, if you look at them as stories to be understood, to be enjoyed, to be relished, then half of your problems goes away. And the rest half, that would go away after today's lecture. How? Let me show you. I am going to revisit with you the 3-step method of solving RCs. One of the most effective ways of solving RCs. Now, what is the 3-step method? Let me show that to you first, and then we will do that with reading comprehension passage. First step is read the roots of the questions, right? Read the roots of the questions and identify the keywords in the question. The second step is read the passage and make a mental flow chart, which is called mind map, right? And the third step is the most important step, answering the questions. Okay, right? So these are the 3 golden steps of solving RCs. Now, please understand, interest of a story inside RC, that is something that you'll have to give me, right? What it is saying, that interest you'll have to give me. I will give you efficient techniques to handle the questions, to improve your understanding in a short period of time, because the limitation is time. I know, because if you had 1 hour for one RC, you could have done it very easily, but you do not have. You have 5 minutes for one RC. Would you be able to do it within 5 minutes? That's our challenge. So for that efficient technique, 3-step process, I will give you. But your attitude, that you will have to give it to me, right? Okay, chalo. Let's see what are the other things that we'll be doing apart from the 3-step process, or rather alongside the 3-step process. First, we'll break some myths of RC. For example, one myth is we'll have to understand the whole passage clearly, then only we'll be able to answer the question. What? Is it so? Would you need to understand, make a PhD or do a PhD on the topic of the passage that has been given to you, and then only you'll be able to answer the question? No, that's not something that's needed. I will show it to you, right? Okay. So these are the myths that are there in your mind that we will break today. And how are we going to do that? We are going to do that by going through a passage, solving a passage by these 3 steps, right? And we'll take a passage from OB Mains Mock 1. Okay. So with that, we will also see how to have an idea about the time you should have taken for doing the passage, and from that you will be able to also get an idea that how much time you should take for these kinds of passages. Now, there are a lot of questions that you ask regarding whether I should do passage in the front or at the end or in the middle, or sometimes you ask, whether you should do it at all or not, just as I said. Now, the answers to all of these questions would also lie in the fact that how much time you take to do these questions, isn't it? Right? So, that is something that we will look at, that how much time we take to do this particular passage. Okay. So let's start off with the first step first, reading the roots of the question and identifying the keywords, right? Chalo, let's see. Here are your questions. Take 20 seconds and read the root of the question and identify the keywords. Done? Okay, let me show this to you. What was the role played by agrarian reforms? One keyword. Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. So these countries' name are the other keywords. So agrarian reforms and Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. So these are the important words. So you'll have to keep in mind these words. So what is root of the question? Root of the question is this much. Without the option, whatever is the question is this much. Which of the following best describes the opposite of concentrated as used in passage? So concentrated, opposite. Which of the following can replace blank P in the passage? So I need to take care of P. I need to, remember where P is while I'm reading, concentrated, and these 2-3 stuff. Last one, which of the following is or are true according to the passage? Now, this is a question which does not have reference point. It does not have reference point. So, it does not help me by reading the question. So, all the other questions, when I read, I got something. I got some keywords, but from here I don't get anything. So we will be answering this particular question on the basis of the overall understanding of the passage. Okay, right. So now let's move on and do this. This is reading the passage and making a mind map. Now you read the passage and try to write the important stuff in every paragraph. Just scribble down. Don't make a proper summary. No, just scribble down the important points according to you, right? So, and then resume the lecture and look at how I do it, right? Okay, take 2 to 3 minutes time for this. Done? Good. Chalo, I'll read the passage. I'll read the passage and do the same stuff that I asked you to do. 2 revolutionary convulsions in Mexico in 1910, in Russia in 1917. So, peasants play key roles in the overthrow of autocratic states. They were replaced by popular democracy in Mexico and socialism in Russia. So in Mexico, revolutions happened and autocracies were replaced by democracy, and socialism in Russia, democracy in Mexico. In both cases, the mass of population was engaged in small scale peasant farming. So the mass was engaged in this particular work. Power and wealth in the countryside were concentrated. Concentrated was there in one of our questions, remember? In the hands of a small land-owning elite. Now, this is what had happened at that point of time before the revolution, that the power and the wealth in the rural areas on the countryside were in the hands of few. Radical redistributive land reforms were driven from below, right? So the man at the end of the pyramid gets the land, and large areas of the land were transferred to the rural poor. Subsequent developments in Mexico, however, saw the takeover of the agrarian economy by large-scale capital. See what happened? Earlier, in 1910, what happened was that from the landowner elite, farmers were given the land. And now what we are seeing is that slowly the agrarian economy is being taken over by the large-scale capitalist. The fate of the Russian peasantry was even more tragic. The fate of the Russian peasantry has not been said, but it is worse than what has happened in Mexico. Now, if I have to identify the important points out here, or scribble down the important points here, right, what would they be? Let me show you the mental notes of this paragraph. Mexico and Russia peasants revolted, overthrew autocracy. Just pointers. Don't make sentences, just pointers. Now, Mexico and Russia peasants revolted, overthrew autocracy. Dates are not important until and unless they are the central point of the paragraph. Because for dates, you can always come back to the passage to refer, right? Land transferred to rural poor from landowner elite. So the story is important. How the story is moving forward is important. Land transferred from rural poor from landowner elite. But later, the rural economy was taken over by large capitalist. These are the important points in the whole paragraph, right? Okay. And in here, we had got the word concentrated. We'll keep, we know that it is here. When we find the question, we will answer it by just coming back if it is necessary. Moving ahead, after the Second World War, pressures for decolonization and national liberation blank dramatically. Oh, this is the P that they have asked about. So that means I'll have to fill in the blank, right? I'll have to fill in the blank here. So moving ahead after the Second World War, pressures of decolonization and national liberation blank dramatically. So it is either increased or decreased dramatically, right? So let's see, European colonial powers had to give up their direct control. Okay. So now from the next line we know, because European powers had to give freedom, had to give their control. Therefore, pressures of liberation increased would have been. So something like increased should come in here. So with the options we'll do later on. Land reforms. In the former colonies, most people were still engaged in small scale farming. Land reform featured strongly in many national liberation struggles described by Eric Wolff as peasant wars. So these land reform struggles as a part of the independence struggle were referred as peasant wars. It also formed a focus of post-independence policy, right? So what are they saying? That see, after the World War II, Europeans had colonized before, for the last 200 years prior to World War II, many areas, including India. And after the World War II, call of independence increased across the world. And there in the independence struggle, we saw that the, land reform was very significant, right? And Eric Wolff talks with them, says these to be as peasant wars. It also formed a focus of post-independent policy. After independence also, it was a central theme of policy. In most cases, these were land to the tiller type reforms. Land to the tiller means the person who is tilling the land, the person who is farming, he should be given the land. That kind of reforms. Large estates in Vietnam, Algeria, Cuba were collectivized by socialist government. Were collectivized. And in China, land reform initially involved land to the tiller, and then collectivization followed. And from 1978, in the household responsibility system, land ownership remained with the collective. Currently, of course, China is encouraging capitalist farming. So this part, from halfway down, here it is talking about how different countries have moved ahead with land reforms. So let's summarize it. First point, after World War II, European colonies gained independence. right? In freedom struggle and after freedom struggle, see, I have used only pointers, no full sentences, just scribbling down the point. In freedom struggle and after land reform was central policy. So after freedom struggle and in freedom struggle, land reform was central policy. Peasant wars is what we referred to them as before freedom struggle. Then land to tiller reforms in most places, examples given. Then China's collective land ownership model, but now it is changing. So see, these are the important points. Again, let me explain to you. I have noted it down for you. I have noted it down for you here. You can as well do it mentally, right? Yes, that requires a little bit of practice, obviously, but it can be done mentally, right? And if you are not able to do it mentally now, just scribble down these notes, scribbling, no sentences, just the points, right? It will hardly take you 15 to 20 seconds extra for the whole passage, right? Let us go to the third paragraph, okay? In Japan, South Korea and Taiwan, agrarian reform helped. Japan, South Korea and Taiwan was there in one of the questions. Remember, this is the beauty of keyword method after reading the roots of the question. We know where the question is coming for most of the cases. Agrarian reform helped to consolidate capitalism. It underwrote rapid industrialization with reforms driven by authoritarian states backed by occupying United States forces. So authoritarian states also drove reform, and US pushed them to do so also. This was designed to preempt to turn to communism. Okay, why US did so? So that those states do not turn to communism. Powerful landlords were expropriated and their land redistributed to tenants. Technological innovation raised productivity, but the capitalists ended up appropriating the agricultural surplus. So till then it was what happened. Till here it was what happened, right? And earlier, after the World War II and what happened after that. And this is what is currently happening. But capitalists had ended up appropriating the agricultural surplus. This process was made possible by administered prices, taxation and supplies of cheap rural labor to emerging industries. So what has happened? Land reform has happened. And even authoritarian states have been pushed by United States to do reforms. So industrialization has increased, rapid industrialization has happened, the production has increased. But all of these has essentially put the power into the hands of some elite capitalist. Earlier, if it was to the landowner elites, today it is to a handful of capitalists, right? So the farmer who was to be empowered has some way been missed by all that has happened. You see, this passage is relevant today also. After the agricultural reforms bill that came, a lot of talk has given way in this direction, that if it is implemented, there is a risk of some capitalist gaining the control of our agricultural economy, which to many economists would be worse than some landowners having control, right? Okay, so this is something which is relevant even today, my dear friends. Now, let us summarize this. J, S, K and T. J means Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. Why did I include this? Because this was in the question. Reform consolidated capitalism, it's written in here. Then rapid industrialization and US forces pushed authoritarian states to reform to stop spread of communism. Why US did it? To stop spread of communism. All together. I've jumbled all of them together so that they are there. Land redistributed, production increased. But what happened? Capitalists took away the surplus. None of that reached to the farmer. See, now look at it. Just look at the mind map. This is called mind map. A flow chart of your passage. This is a around 340 word passage and has been made into a 70 words in terms of points mind map, right? So doing this obviously might take 30-40 seconds more, but is it worth it? We will see it just now while we go to the questions. For reading this passage, you should have taken around 1.5 minutes or so. Another half a minute for making a mind map. Acha, chalo, another half a minute extra, 2.5 minutes, not more than that. 2.5 minutes for reading this passage and making this mind map. Now, if you close your eyes and look at this, after you have looked at this mind map and close your eyes, there will be such a clarity in your mind of the picture that is being drawn of this passage. It's a summary of the passage, point wise, right? As I told you that you can do it mentally also, or you can scribble down the notes in your rough sheet. But whatever you do, try and do it. Now, let us go to the questions. What was the role played by agrarian reforms in Japan, South Korea and Taiwan? I'll go through the options directly because I already have it in our mind map. What is it? See, JSKT reform, consolidated capitalism is there. So let's see, it helped consolidated socialism. No. It helped consolidate capitalism. Yes. I would mark this, but I'll also go through all the other. It helped feminism. It helped communism. Communism. No. Okay. This wrong typing. Here it was something else. I mean, not capitalism, but something else. Communalism or something like that. So what is the answer? The answer is B. The answer is B. In this case, it was something else, some other ism, not capitalism, but communalism or something like that. But anyways, nothing else can be the answer. Just when I get it here, I know that this is the answer. So if you have made the mind map, how much time would you take to answer this question? Hardly 15 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. Okay. Even if you have not put it in your mind map, you will have to come back. You think that you'll have to come back to the passage to answer it. Then also you know, because you have made a mental flow chart of the passage, you know that you will have to come back here. Because here is where Japan, South Korea, Taiwan was. And here it is given consolidate capitalism. Direct answer. So even if you do this, you will take hardly 20 seconds, 20 to 25 seconds, 10 seconds extra maybe. Maybe that's two, right? Okay, chalo, next question. Which of the following can replace blank P in the passage? We know it would be some synonym of increased. Decreased, no. Increased is there, I'll keep it. Discounted, no. Reduced, no. Diminished, no. So only increased can be the answer. How much time should you take it? 10 seconds? Not more than that, na? My dear friends, see the beauty of mind map and going in an order efficiently, clinically through the passage. Let me show you the next one. Which of the following best describes the opposite of concentrated as used in the passage? Now, concentrated was used. I'll go back to the passage for this. Power and wealth in the countryside were concentrated in the hands of. So, there in the hands of small landowning elite. So, I'll just go through the options. Scattered, yes. Concentrated, opposite, scattered. I'll keep this. Focused, no. Focused is the meaning, word meaning of it. Synonym. Fixed, irrelevant, crashed, independent, undivided, again synonym. So, eliminated. So, only A can be the answer. Again, how much time you should take? 10 to 15 seconds. See the speed at which you are moving through the questions. You are bulldozing through the questions, right? And now the last question. Which of the following is or are true according to the passage, right? Now, this is a question where you have no reference point. So, you'll have to go through the given statements and choose the option accordingly. But should I go back to the passage? Not now. Let's first read these and see whether we are able to eliminate any. European powers had to give up their direct control over large areas of the world. Yes, this is true. This was here. We had kept it in our mind map also and we have read it, na? Right? Next, land reforms that featured in liberation struggles were defined as worker wars by anthropologist Eric Wolf. No, it was peasant wars. So, 2 is eliminated. So, if 2 is eliminated, this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, right? Now, I have only 1 or 1 and 3. Let's see. In Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, agrarian reform helped to consolidate capitalism. This is a repeated line. This is a line that has been there and we have done a question on this. We know for sure that this is true. So 1 and 3 are the answers. So both 1 and 3, option D. How much time, my dear friends? 20 to 30 seconds at the max. 20 to 30 seconds at the max. So see, 2.5 minutes to read and make a mind map, 30 seconds to read the questions and identify keywords, 3 minutes, and for all of these questions together, not more than 1 minute 50 seconds. So 4.5 minutes at the max and you are done with these 4 questions, and according to me, you shouldn't have got any one of them wrong. Should you have? Tell me, right? Huh? So this is how you do your passage. Smart way of getting scores in passage in less time. Okay? So now let's wrap it up with a discussion of time and score for the whole paper. We just had a discussion on how much you should have taken for doing that particular passage, right? Okay. Now let's look at, in a paper where there are 2 passages of 10 questions, how much time you should take to do those questions. 10 questions, 2 passages. If this could have been done within 4.5 minutes, another 4.5 minutes, you are done with another passage. So let's say I have written here 7 to 8 minutes. Let's say 9 minutes. Okay. 8 to 9 minutes. Let's increase it by another 1 minute because I had given you 30 seconds extra while we were having the discussion for this particular passage, that let us give ourselves 30 seconds extra. So 9 minutes, 10 questions, at least 8 marks, nowhere it goes, at least 8 marks, nowhere it goes. We can get 10 out of 10, but let's say I am pessimistic, at least 8 marks we can get, right? This is possible. And if there are 3 RCs, 15 questions, 13-14 minutes and at least 12-13 marks, right? So look at this. We had a class with you, I had a class with you of grammar and now today of RC. Together, let's say around 17-18 questions comes from these 2 or 20 questions comes from these 2. Half of the paper comes from these 2. In the last class, I showed you that you can do 10 questions of grammar within 6 minutes. And today I showed you 9 minutes your RC. How much time? 15 minutes, 20 questions and more than 15 marks. Or at least 15 marks. Right? Ravi sir had already shown you in parajumbles and in fill in the blanks that how you can score at least 15 from those 20 questions and in as much or lesser time, right? RC is the one which will take a little more time and in the other ones it will take less time. So 30 marks or 30 correct within as much time or a little more time, 32, 33, you are left with time and your score is a good score in a paper which is like this, right? So that's the beauty of planning your paper well and approaching your questions smartly. Okay, right? So what do you need to do in passages now? Practice 3-step method of RC solving at least on 9 to 10 RCs. Okay. Easy or medium level RCs. You would be doing them through mocks also. So 9 to 10 RCs, practice this method and you are done. The mind map, the keyword identifying, everything, you know, as a process in the next 4 days, and you will see how confident you become in RC. Okay. So that would be all for today. All the best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.